when it comes to like the secret government they obviously happen.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it would be like a Stranger Things thing,
Mm-hmm.
but this is the way my mind works, and I could be completely wrong in thinking this, but I feel like the reason why it's put in the media that way is so, in a way, it becomes commonplace. So if we do see something like that, we're going, oh, okay. Because, like, for instance, when I lived out in Lodi, it was the weirdest thing. I don't know if it still happens, and I'm just not up that early, and I usually work Saturdays now, so I wouldn't be able to tell. But every Saturday, and the only reason I remember this is because I worked at the KFC Taco Bell. We would open at like 8 or 9. I'd have to get in like 7:30.
Yeah,
because I was one of the managers.
Yeah.
So on my way there, every Saturday, anywhere between 7 and 7:30 in the morning, there would just be these tanks, like on the back of like trucks and military parts and military cars, driving through fucking Lodi.
Well, you know what's funny?
Did you see the tank when we were driving today?
We were on our way to the studio from Studio 1 to Studio 2, and we definitely passed by. I thought it was one tank on top of another tank, but I think it might have just been one.
It was a tank, and the cannon on top was disassembled.
Is that
so
what
like
it was?
it was like off and
It looked
in pieces.
It looked like you could tell it was a tank, but it looked like the top part of it was a
Like,
little funky.
To me, I think they start putting that in media and video games, and like it. So when we see it, we don't
We're
have
numb
that,
to
like,
it.
"Oh, what is that? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I told the story here before, or if I told to either of you guys before, but we went to Mackinac Island for my birthday one year, and it's way up at the top of Michigan. It's essentially their Put in Bay, but like there's no motors or anything like that. It's all bikes or horses.
Fair.
Very beautiful up there.
Yeah.
But it's a 6-hour trip. And I remember I think we were driving on my birthday, and we just got into Detroit, and it was the time when all the riots were happening in downtown Cleveland, and we were worried going to Detroit. I'm like, shit, I wonder, I hope it's not going to move up and we get caught in this.
Right.
So, but on our way, like literally there's a bridge you pass going to Detroit.
Yeah.
We're on the bridge, and 4 different Humvees with beds, like carrying beds, had tanks and military equipment on them, and they passed us on the highway. And I'm like, that's an I have a video of it somewhere, but that was interesting. And then today we saw the tank.
Yeah, I think that stuff is more commonplace for those exact reasons. I think it's like to desensitize it. Yeah. And I think too, okay, so I'm about to jump off into like another crazy question, but like, so do we think that the world will not, not the world will end, but like, is it coming in our time of like crazy forever life, like extreme altering events that all take place like within frequent times of each other and are called WAR, or like things of said nature, that like do we think that is the thing that we're all thinking of, that we all joke about? Is it like, do we think that it's actually coming? And do we think that there's possibility that it could be in the US, or at least there will be like stuff in the US that like can't drive through Arizona anymore because that's, you know what I mean? Or like you drive from state to state and you're like, oh yeah, that's wreckage from that time when that happened, like, you think that it will happen in our lifetime, that thing that we always think about but never talk about?
So I have a theory, and it's when I start saying it, people are like, well, that's a fucking stupid theory. But then once I explain it, people are like, that actually makes a lot of sense. So it starts with global warming. Okay. I don't know that the world is, I don't think it's getting hotter because of us. What I think is that the tectonic plates are shifting at a faster rate. And that's why we're seeing more tsunamis. That's why we're seeing more violent storms. That's why we're seeing the heat go up. That's why we're seeing volcanoes erupt the way that they are, is because these plates are shifting at an accelerated rate. Because there's no reason for me to believe as a human being that Pangea was millions of years ago and they just stopped shifting when we got here. Yeah. And I think the reason why it's warmer in places for us is because slowly we're moving down. I think we're getting closer to the equator. And I think that's why our summers are hotter. I think that's why our weather's more extreme. And I think that's why our winters aren't as cold, or if they're just not as much snow.
Right. Okay.
So that's my theory on that. I think that is going to lead to massive fallout, because we're going to start seeing volcanoes erupt that we thought were dead. I think we're going to start seeing Mount St. Helen-like situations more frequently. And that is going to cause a lot of problems. Now, I believe, and based on what I was taught in school, that the earth is a living being. Mm-hmm. And the same way that any of us would take care of ourselves, if we get a cut, we would fix it. That's the same thing that the earth is going to do. And the reason why I say this with the volcanoes is because what does a volcano do when it explodes the way that Mount St. Helens did? It blocks out the sun. Mm-hmm. It causes the atmosphere to get cooler because it is throwing this ash into the air.
So you think it's trying to fix itself?
Correct. Now, if you want to get conspiracy theory with it, then you could bring up HARP and all these different things. Okay, that's fine. With the satellite fields and everything. But that's what I think is going on. And I think that just with the way that we're positioned, and there's that fault line.
Yeah.
That San Andreas fault. I think...
Great GTA game.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's where we're going to see the most damage. Just based on earthquake. I mean, Ohio's having earthquakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That tells me that there's something going on. Things are moving more rapidly. Now, could that be human caused because we're digging into the ground looking for stuff? It could be. Absolutely, it could be. But fracking, we don't dig that deep.
Right.
But,
it's vibrations.
Right.
Though. Yeah.
It's plausible. Absolutely, it's plausible. But just based on everything that I think it's that the tectonic plates are moving quicker at a more accelerated rate. And so we're seeing the effects with water. And because that heat is seeping into the atmosphere, we're seeing melting ice. The ice caps are melting. So we're seeing all of these different things. Now, do cars help? Probably not.
Yeah.
But the other thing that doesn't help is digging deeper for these for the lithium and all of these different things that we would use. Well, that we would use
for best band
that we would use for electric vehicles, right? Yeah. So that's probably not helping either.
Right.
That's my theory with that, but I think that's going to lead to what you're talking about, where it's like that used to be a beautiful community, but now it's gone, and this is what happened.
Let me piggyback off that real quick before we change anything. I heard this a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And I really like that. That might be my primary belief now, because like the way you explain that makes too much sense. And when's the last time you actually heard anything about a tectonic plate moving?
Right.
Other than elementary school science class.
Right.
Makes perfect sense to me. Right. I think there's a lot of credibility behind that argument.
Harvard.
Yeah.
He is a Harvard grad, ladies and gentlemen, and Berkeley.
Harvard grad.
Look at this guy.
Yeah.
And OMS.
No,
yeah, baby.
No, I think there's a lot of credibility behind that. And on top of that, I do think there is foul play. I don't think it's human pollution. I don't think it's cows. I don't think it's things that we've had for hundreds of years at this point anymore. I don't think we're the main contributors just by our day-to-day lifestyle. I don't think that's the case at all. I do think for some reason, and I don't know the reason, that someone or some higher up understands that, hey, this is what's actually happening and the tectonic plates are moving, but for a power move, we have to make people think it's their fault. We have to make people think it's ours. We can upcharge on cars that way. We can make new ways of getting around and sell more product this way because the ozone layer, I'm going to bring up two instances that they relate at the end. The ozone layer, for the past 20 years, we've heard about how we damaged it and it's irreparable. In the past 5 years, they've closed up like 96% or something like that. And it's a crazy, astounding number they didn't think was possible, but the ozone layer fixed itself. Like Jake said, the Earth healed itself because it is adapting to the fact that, oh, we use more carbon now.
Right.
Here's how we have to adapt behind it. So the ozone layer all but fixed itself, and then what happened? East Palestine happened, and a train derailment happened, and it set us back like 3 years in terms of the ozone layer progress we made, just in one instance.
Right.
And that's not counting in any of the other buildings that went up or train derailments or anything else that happened the past month or two.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, and I don't think that's coincidence, that as soon as we have some semblance of restoring the ozone, that happens in one single-handed incident that was brushed under the rug by mainstream media and is still an issue in Ohio.
Yeah.
Destroyed the ozone layer.
I just want to point out that I talk about that every day.
Yeah.
I go out of my way
Good.
to
You
make sure
should.
that people are updated on that.
Because people are fucking dying still.
Yeah. It's a great
in
Well,
Ohio.
and, right, and like I make
crazy
sure
situation.
I give updates. So the last update I had, it was on Friday and Saturday. The EPA is still testing the soil. They're saying that it's clean.
Good.
Air's
They've
good.
said that since 3 days after.
Right, but citizens are coming out and they're going, "We're smelling weird smells. This is it's just strange to us."
And that might be the first instance
And-
of what Shane's talking about.
And so, right. And so, to be fair, Norfolk Southern is straight up like, we understand. If you want to leave, we're paying for it.
Good.
So we saw. So I got to think of the numbers. Their quarterly numbers came out for this first half of the year, and it was, hold on, I'm trying to picture it in my head. It was $287 million, and that doesn't include the $31 million that they put aside for the relocation funds.
Okay.
Plus, on top of it, they are paying a shit ton to the schools.
Good.
Which, and I will give Norfolk Southern this. Did they probably cut corners here and there? Yes. Is that what caused it? Yes. But at the same time, their CEO, Alan Shaw, is going, we know we did bad.
Yeah.
What do you guys need?
Which is good because it was the complete 180 of that.
Correct.
This, so.
Correct. And I think the reason why is because they weren't sure if it was the railroad that did it or the railroad company.
Right.
And that's what the confusion was on. But as soon as that video came out where they showed 5 miles down the railway, wheels were popping off, they were sparking, everything else, then that's when they were like, okay, that's us. That's on me. Like an NFL player when they get a penalty, that's on me, my bad. And then they just started giving money out.
Okay. Real quick, though, my other point.
Yes.
And I can't take credit for this. A guy I work with, Paul, I talked to him about it, and he brought it up the other day, and I never really thought about this. And it's something that by the time our generation was in school, it was something that we had seen in media and movies and old media. But by the time we were in, it was just being taught different. We grew up with it was global warming at the change, right? And we're heating up the planet and everything's hot. Now it's climate change. You don't say global warming, it's outdated. Right, whatever, cool. 20, 30, 50 years ago, it was cooling.
Yeah.
That we were in fear that we'd have an ice age by the year 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How, and it's never explained, how do we go from the top scientists in the world supposedly thinking, oh, we're going to be frozen by the year 2010 to, oh no, we're all going to be underwater by the year 2050. And it just kind of
look at the day after tomorrow. Yeah. That was the whole point of that movie.
That's fair.
So I have a theory on that. And I'm not saying that this is what's going on, but I'm just going to put this out there and do with it what you will.
Yeah.
Shane, if I'm paying you $10 million a year.
You're paying me $10 million a year.
Damn.
Yep.
I'm rich.
And you're going to research the fact that burritos make your head explode if you eat them. We all know that's not the case.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you $10 million to say that they might.
Yeah.
Are you going to continue to say that they might even though you know they don't?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's my thing. That's where it ties into what I was saying earlier, where the two meet is I don't know why. I don't know the exact game, but it's what I speculated of like, well, we can push out new products and new ways to fix things and market it more to get more money and get more power and get more trust of, we know this isn't the issue, but we're going to keep putting the story out here that this is the issue now or this is the issue now.
Right.
Yeah.
And all these top minds, quote unquote, are going to be the ones backing it, right?
Yeah.
Well, and the issue with like the whole going electric thing, our power grid can't handle that.
I got a bigger issue with it. We're
What's
not
that?
saving any energy. People don't understand how the batteries are made. We're not eliminating fossil fuel.
Right.
We're storing it differently and
Yeah.
in a bigger compartment.
Well, and then on top of it, those lithium batteries, there's no way, like if they catch on fire, you can't put it out. There's no way to dispose of them. So
and if it does go out, you got to buy a whole new car.
Right. And we're creating a situation. It's kind of like with AI in a way, how it's going to get out of control because we don't know how to control it. We don't know how
haven't
far it
planned
can
that
go.
far ahead, yeah.
Right. And that's, I don't know if you guys saw, did you see Elon Musk and everybody came out? They're like, hey, can we take like a year break on the AI stuff?
Really?
I was.
Yeah.
I brought up we didn't talk about it on the show, but the article
We didn't
that I
know.
brought-
The Apple one?
No, the AI one.
Oh, the AI mastermind?
The godfather of
Yeah.
AI. It was this guy that worked at Google, and he
quit.
He quit Google because he wanted to speak freely on his thoughts and like regrets on what he did with AI, and he didn't want that to negatively impact what Google was doing with AI. He said he wanted to make it clear that he wasn't like quitting so that he could like shit talk AI. He just didn't want it to look poorly on Google if their top AI guy was voicing concerns about AI, so he decided to step down.
Wow.
There was another good line in that article too, because I read that earlier in the day. There was a line in there that said, it's something along the lines of like, people think it wouldn't be ideal for me to step down from this position, but it was something along the lines of, I fear that regardless, I'll be out of this position within 2 years. Something like that.
So wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so
or this position won't exist within the next 2 years or something like that.
this is my answer to this question that I
Yeah.
posed to you guys of, do we think that this thing that we all think of but we don't say
Yeah.
and we don't talk about it in public, do we think that it's going to happen? I think okay, I guess it's kind of a shitty answer. I don't know, but I think like it's going to happen very quick, and I talk about the exponential growth. It's going to happen very quick, and almost like I was trying to think of how I could like analogy compare it. Like you're thrusting, and then your whole brain just flashbangs and you come and you're like, whoa, and you're in a new timeline now, is what it feels like, right? Just as my now. I think that's how it's gonna, like,
We're gonna be living in post-nut clarity.
literally, but like things are gonna get faster, and fake news, like news that we know for sure is misinformation, is gonna be spread quicker, and there's gonna be new viruses and new strains and new killers and new earthquakes. It's all gonna start happening. There's gonna be more earthquakes that happen faster and more frequently, and everything is, the exponential growth is gonna get exponentialer, and we're not going to be able to keep up with it. And then one day everything's just going to come to a topple, and like, I mean, I don't think the whole world's going to explode, but I think that there will be like one big thing.
Man.
I think that there will be a like boom, the cum.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and
the big
then-
cum.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that's coming for AM radio. That's
true.
That's coming to an end.
That's true.
I believe it.
And AM radio, no, like there is a
bill.
It's actively happening right now.
I believe it.
So the problem with getting rid of AM radio, and I know the talking points because we talk about them at work because we are an AM station.
Right.
So AM is what like the emergency broadcast system uses. Like when you hear that on the radio, they switch over to an AM signal, and they're just basically, I don't want to say streaming it, but they're basically streaming it from an AM network.
They're
interesting.
just picking up the AM transmission.
Yeah, there it is.
interesting.
Thank you. And so they're going to get rid of that because supposedly this is what I'm hearing, because they don't want to put it in electric vehicles. That's what we're being told. So Ford is stepping away from it because Tesla did, and so now Chevy's going to step away from it because Ford is. That's dangerous, and that's where a majority of your news talk is on AM, whether it's right or left. You know, not ideology has nothing to do with it.
Right.
That's where that talk is. And if they get rid of that, I mean, so the station I work at is 38 states and half of Canada.
Yep.
So like that, if something were to happen, so like for instance, 9/11.
Yeah.
When 9/11 happened, Bill Wills was live all day. And it got to the point like the Akron station took the TAM feed. Like there were stations all over this area that took that feed because they were that large, they're able to get that signal out to places. A friend of ours lives in Minnesota. If he wanted to listen to me on air, he could. That's how far and clear that signal is.
Yeah.
If they get rid of that, FM does not reach that way.
Yeah.
That's a scary thought.
And if we're going down the serious path for a second here, I got a couple notes to add onto that. Number one, if you're listening to this and you heard what he just said and you hear what I'm about to say, and you're of the opinion that, this is a really stupid move and a dangerous move more than anything else, there is a bill that's going around right now, and there is a petition that's going around right now in counter of that to save AM radio. And both Jake and I's jobs kind of rely on that bill not being passed. So there's that, 216-859-8699. I'm sure we can get you a link to the petition in the bill as well. But to Jake's point, there is, when you go to broadcasting school, there's an unwritten rule in broadcasting. And it's something that you kind of just sign up for and is expected of you when you're at a station that has an air feed. And it's the rule of, if a national disaster happens, a terror attack, some kind of national volcano, a hurricane, the end of the world, a nuclear war could be happening, and your obligation is to broadcast that message. If there are nuclear missiles launching, and the nation's in lockdown and people are running to shelters, your job is to announce that and be that voice that's letting people know that.
I mean, when COVID happened, when it really started getting serious, we were on air.
Yeah.
We were talking about it. When the riots happened in downtown Cleveland, we were the only news station that was live talking about it as it was happening. AM's like, and I know people don't pay much attention. I'm trying to find the email that has the number and everything, because you can text a number.
Okay, cool.
Like tell your senator, like, hey, don't do this. But like that's and I don't even want to go on this side of it, but you're also shutting down a lot of voices.
That's true.
And you know, we want to talk about how certain Twitter accounts are getting shut down and things like that. Some of these AM stations have been around for 100 years, and now they're going to go dead air. That's a scary thought.
Your Russian ghost radio signal, that's an AM signal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yep. Well, wouldn't be gone because that's not an American signal, but we have no, if we have something of that caliber, wouldn't have it anymore.
Not gone.
Not gone.
Not gone.
Not gone.
Real quick, just to go back to your question at hand, since we're on serious talk, and you can choose if you want this in or not, but to take a different route of it, and from a religious aspect, there will be an end. There's going to be an end days. It's going to happen. Now, you posed the question earlier of, are we coming up on the end? Do we live in the times where the end is coming, be it through war or natural disaster or whatever? And that the past couple of years, that's been thrown out a lot. We even did a podcast episode of it when Evan was in like 3 years ago about it. Because people were saying, oh, this is the end times. This is what's been foretold.
Yeah.
People also don't seem to read the next couple chapters where it says no one knows. No one's going to know when the end times come until they're upon us. Yeah. No one's going to know until they hear the siren of trumpets or something, the sound of trumpets. Yeah. No one, you can't foretell the end time. It's not how it works. That being said, I heard a very interesting point the other day, and just because I'm not going to have the opportunity to say it anywhere else, demons and satanic, demonic figures in the Bible are never referred to individually. When they talk about demonic possession or some kind of evil spirit, it is referred to as they and them. Huh. Just putting that out there. Huh. We live in a very much time of they and them. I'll just throw that out there.
I'll throw this out there. So aliens. Okay.
Enter meme of
those guys.
Well, right, but like, you know, we're told about abductions and all these things and how people are just going to disappear randomly one day. It sounds a lot like something that's being told in the Bible. So it's no secret that we've slowly been getting away from faith and things like that in this country. I'm not saying right or wrong. I think it is a theory that is worth looking into, that the idea of aliens coming to this planet is a way that, because if you believe in the devil, you have to believe in God. Right. So like the same way that people will go, oh, well, I'm an atheist, but I believe in the devil. Well, then you're not an atheist. That's not how that works.
Sounds like a Satanist.
Right. Like you can't say that you believe in the color purple, but not the color red, because red makes purple. That's simple. So what if aliens and this idea of outer space beings, what if that's something that, if that eventually does happen, they could sit there and they can go, it was aliens. It was aliens that did it. It had nothing to do with religion or Jesus or any of that. It was aliens. Aliens did it. Because that would be a very easy cop out for a lot of people. Because I would hate to see the reaction to the people who have been holier than thou that are still here that next day.
Yeah.
Those people are going to lose their minds.
That'd be a very like deep web government thing to do, to like the second coming of Christ is here upon us, and they're like, no, this is aliens. Remember, we gave you guys the alien records. This is why we gave them to you. But here, look, these are the aliens. We promise. These are, don't look into it. This is the aliens. This is nothing else. So we're going to take care of it.
Would you be surprised if they did it?
And that's what I'm saying. It would be a really like them thing to do. Like, it'd be really of the government. That would totally be a government ass thing to do of them, to do something that evil, devious, sketchy of like, this is not the second coming. This is aliens, I promise. Like, don't get on your hands and knees and bow, you know? Like,
as goofy as it may sound, may I pose you ancient aliens?
Sure.
How we were told that the Mayans came from space and that they're actually aliens that are on Earth, and the pyramids were some kind of signal to back home and all this bullshit and all these carvings of spacemen.
Right.
If you go back and actually look at like the words from the Mayans, what they had written down, what they had talked about in their experience, there's one that's really like, I remember hearing it over and over again. It was in this documentary. I'd heard a couple other places, but it was that there's a old prophecy, I guess you'd call it, in Mayan culture of like this big beam of light that looked like a shooting star, but it was on our plane that's in the sky, and it came and it brought this light down, essentially, right? And everything was different after that. And there's this whole thing where it's like, oh, well, they're aliens because they saw that, and they're talking about a ship blasting.
Right.
Kind of sounds like they're talking about the chariot with, the blinding light.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of written somewhere else.
And then real quick, I got the number here.
Oh yeah,
it's a live read, so I'm going to go ahead and do it here.
it's not a live read anymore because it comes out in like a month.
All right, well, then cut it and play it during your show.
Still wouldn't be a live read.
Tuning into the high school football game, monitoring the incoming storm, catching your favorite talk show host. These are just a few reasons why more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. There you go.
Ayo.
Right now. 52886?
Yep, 52886 AM.
Yeah, I believe the Mayans were like, they knew more than we do now, and they were further along than we did now, and they either like left because they went on to bigger and better things, or they got destroyed. They got exploded because they were too smart, and the people who gave them the technology were like, you're going to try to overpower us, so we're going to kill you.
Well, look at the stuff with the pyramids. I mean, those are giant granite stones that are cut perfectly.
They're like they weigh like multiple tons a piece too, and they just moved them on top of each other.
They are supposedly they were in the bronze tool era, so they did all that with bronze tools in the matter. And no, there's no way. There's absolutely no way.
Yeah, right.
So there was something there technology-wise, and I'm sorry, but it wouldn't be the first time that there was a major breaking technology that wasn't used because the right person didn't invent it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the Mayans were like, it seems like almost common knowledge at this point that the Mayans were onto something, and they had technology that was more advanced than they let on, or that they depicted and left for us to see, and we just don't know about it. But like, it's more so, I believe that to be common knowledge, and like people just kind of take that as like, yeah, that was probably true, we just can't prove it. I just wonder like what it was and how, like, because then it gets into a conversation of like religion and aliens and where do they convert, because that's kind of the conversation that we're tiptoeing around, is like, is it religion or is it aliens? And like, it could be both.
Or do they coincide, or can they coincide?
Right. Like, where does it work out?
Because
it could be either one for like them making the pyramids and shit like that, I'll
say this, and two topics here. Number one, to your point of, you said you seem like it's common knowledge and everyone just kind of doesn't elaborate further on the fact, or we haven't looked more into the whole Mayan alien theory.
Yeah.
It was enough of a prevalent thing in 2009 for them to pull us out of a history class one day and go, I know we've been teaching you about Egypt, but here we're going to sit in the auditorium and watch a documentary called Ancient Aliens, and just think about it.
Yeah.
Our schools did that to us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is like, everyone kind of knows, like, yeah, the Mayans were probably hanging out with aliens. They just never wrote it down for us to find. So, like, we can't prove it finitely, but they were probably hanging out with aliens.
Well, and then on top of it, too, 2012, there was the movie.
Yeah.
There was the belief that the world was going to end. There were people going nuts.
Yeah.
If we're diving into theories real quick, I'd like to throw this in the ring.
I love it.
The world ended. The world ended several times. The world was supposed to end in 2000. The world was supposed to end in 2012. There was another one, too.
It's like 2017
17,
or
16, something like that.
Yeah.
But there was distinct dates the world was supposed to end, and three of them that were like really strong. And it was 2012, 2000. There was another one like 2016, 2017. I think it did, and I think it's the cause of the Mandela Effect. I think the world ended in 2000. I think we're in a different timeline. I think the world ended in 2012. I think we're in a different timeline.
You talking CERN? Is that what you're talking about? The giant atom mixer? under
yes
Europe?
and
You're
yes
saying we
and
got
no.
sucked in and we're in a different timeline?
Yes and no.
I don't know about that, but that sounds crazy.
They're experimenting with
They're slicing atoms.
they're experimenting with atomic fission and fusion just in this underground lab, and it hasn't been public knowledge until the past 10 years.
Pull up a picture of it so you can see. This thing's like 10 football fields wide. And it's a giant, like force field almost, that it just spins atoms in a circle. And then they try to slice them. And they're saying that, this thing, it's
Particle
ridiculous.
physics lab.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's
And they've just been
huge.
doing it for decades.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it just came public knowledge like a year or two ago.
Well, all right. Well, if we really want to get down the
hang on, real quick.
wormhole-
Let me
okay.
let me elaborate. I think we're in different timelines.
I am down to go down to the wormhole, though.
I think we're in different timelines. I think the world jumped at least 3 times that I can recollect.
Fair.
Probably more in the 80s and 90s and 70s, probably more.
Yeah.
But at least 3 times in my lifetime that I can, this is the end of the world, and this is the end of the world, and this is the end of the world.
Yeah.
3 times at least. And those 3 times are 3 different timelines. That's why, up until 2000, we have tracks of like Berenstain Bears books that aren't Berenstain, they're Berenstain Bears now. And we have the Oscar Mayer debate, right? We have those Mandela Effects and the Snow White and the 7 Dwarves and the mirror on the wall. We have those ones. Those are, like, when you think about a Mandela Effect, those are like the foundation.
Right.
That's because those happened in the 2000 jump. You go to the 2012 jump and you get things like Kit Kat, Febreze, things of that. Luke, I'm your father.
Yeah.
Life is like a box of chocolates. Things like that. And then,
JFK's car.
and then calms down for a little bit, right? Well, there's no new. How come we don't find new Mandela Effects? Why aren't there new Mandela Effects popping up? Get another jump.
Yeah, we're not in
2014, 15, 13, wherever it was in there.
Yeah.
Another one happened. We got more and more and more. I think that's what it is. I think that's what we're experiencing. Where somehow, and I don't know how, I don't know why, but I think our timeline ends, or we split, or some kind of branch happened, some event caused, and maybe it is events. Maybe it's 9/11. Maybe it's JFK's assassination in general.
Right.
Maybe it is just major traumatic events.
Right.
And maybe it is just mass misremembering. I don't believe that, but maybe it is. But that's where we get these splits in our reality, I think. And I think that's why for the past, and COVID might have been one. I don't know.
Right.
I haven't looked at Mandela Effects recently.
Sure.
But to my knowledge, up until like that last one, 2014, whenever that was, that last quote unquote end of the world, there hasn't been a lot of, here's a Mandela Effect.
That's when they
big
turned
one,
that
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, look up when they turned it on. Because I think it was 2010 is when they turned it on. I could be completely wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it was 2010. Like when they really started to go with it.
Yeah, I didn't know about this particle
Hadron Collider.
The Hadron Collider?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard of the Hadron Collider before.
That's what we used to make the atomic bomb.
Interesting.
So
And we're just messing
2008, September 10th of 2008.
So yeah, because I forgot what I was listening to when they turned it on, and the guy, it might have been Maxwell's show, but I just remember them going, "Oh, that's gonna be good. That's gonna work out great."
with it. Yeah.
But that's what I was gonna get into when I said, let's get into the wormhole, because there's a lot of stuff like that, like the Luke, I am your father, this the 3CPO having a gold leg, silver leg,
okay, yeah.
All those different things. There's no way that millions of people, Shazam, everybody remembers this movie, but they're saying it was never made.
Yeah, Sinbad was Shazam, baby.
Right. Like, like people remember.
Looney
this.
Tunes is one that fucks me up.
Yep.
Because Looney Tunes with a U doesn't make any goddamn sense. They're not listening to music. It's a cartoon.
Yeah.
Right.
And everyone does, it's Merry Melodies Productions. That's not how cartoons work, Chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fucked one. The Berenstain Bears, Curious George not having a tail. Sex in the City was a big one for me. And we did a whole Mandela Effect episode, and I'm sure I ranted about these.
Yeah.
But Sex in the City was a big personal one for me, because I remember this coming out. I remember the fucking advertisements and vignettes they'd run on TBS or wherever it was, ABC, for Sex in the City. And I remember being in West Virginia with my cousin Josh and hearing this play on the TV as I was setting up my Xbox to play SVR08. I remember it clear as day. We're sitting on the floor, TV's above us, and I heard them do a promo for Sex in the City, and me and him had both heard it for the first time. We laughed our ass off. And the joke was, what, are they just having sex in the city?
So the
Because we were 8,
scariest,
but
the scariest Mandela effects are the ones that do go with politics. Those are the freakiest ones. The JFK car, the just the different ones that are put out there. The JFK car one is the one that freaks me out the most.
What is that? I don't know if I know that one in
So
full extent.
they're saying the car that he was in, there are photos and videos of him not in a limo, just a regular Lincoln Continental.
With the top down.
Correct.
Yeah.
But now they're saying it was a limo.
What?
Yeah, it's got an extra row of seating.
Yeah, look.
See?
That's so wild.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I remember just a regular car.
Just a coupe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a one door
To the point,
front and back. Yeah.
So Geraldo was the one that broke all this when they first released all the films, right? What are the films called?
The Zapruder films?
Yes. So Geraldo released all those. He and I got into it about this, and I'm going, dude, he wasn't in a limo. He's like, Jake, yes, he was. I studied these films, and I'm going, so have I. I've seen him where he's not in the limo. I've seen this happen. So there's one of two things that happen. That was bullshit, or the other one I saw was bullshit. Either way, they're both out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's super
But that's the
wild.
thing. They're not both out there. This is out there now.
You can find it.
Can you?
You can. I've found it before. You got to dive deep, but you can find it.
I'd like to get off JFK just because that's its whole another conspiracy in and of
Yeah,
itself, and
yeah.
I could spend hours doing that.
Yeah.
The Mandela Effect's a fucking wild. I had to stay off it. It's like a drug, because I used to do before I did
Yeah.
any kind of media. I used to do videos on Facebook when I was like
Oh, yeah.
15, just going over Mandela Effects because they don't make sense.
No, yeah,
they don't make sense.
You've talked to me about Mandela Effect since like before I knew you from doing the show.
Yeah.
And everything. Like we've just talked to me about that in our personal lives for a long time. And it's funny because like you love the Mandela Effect, and I've always known that about you, that's a big one that you get stuck on. For me, it's one of the easier ones to explain. I've always thought.
Okay.
And more that I see it, and more that I think of it, I think I feed into it more, and I start to wrap my own head around it and believe the Mandela Effect more. But like for me, it was always like, no, clearly you just misremembered that. That's why you can't find pictures of Berenstain Bears or whatever. Like it's a case of group psychosis.
Okay.
Like one person is saying, I think it might have been like this, and everyone around them is just like, yeah, I think it was. And so so that's one side of coin, right? Mm-hmm. Other side is I'm trying to like, because I'm definitely of the belief of like, I'm driving down the road and a car swerves and almost hits me or something like that. There's definitely timelines where I died, and that thing hit, and that car hit me, and I was dead, and I didn't make it. Just in a regular car driving situation, any day of the week, doing anything, this room catches on fire.
What's the theory called? If you can imagine a reality where it happens, it happens.
Yeah, I mean that's like Rule 34 for porn on the internet, but like
Right.
I mean same concept of like. You can die at any moment, at any time. You just have to be prepared for it. Very stoic way of looking at it. But like the more that I think about that, the more that I can wrap my brain around a Mandela Effect type thing happening, because there are a lot of them where I'm like the JFK car one.
Mm-hmm.
That one is like, no, dude, I've seen videos where they do like they follow the bullet. Where it traveled through his shoulder and then his leg and then through the front seat and it hit the other guy in the shin or whatever it was. Like I've seen videos of them do like a 3D diagram of the car and where the bullets went and stuff. It was not a limo. So like there are definitely some for me now that I'm like, and I think stuff like that only adds weight to other cases that I have thought of in the past and just kind of brushed over. But like, I don't know.
So
it's one that I can get behind more now.
So
That's what I'm
based
saying.
on the theory of CERN and everything that I've read on it, that means that you did not switch realities. You did not switch timelines. While you're here, because you can remember all those things like you just said. So the people that have the quote-unquote Mandela effect would then be in the present timeline, but in their old mindset. If that
So
makes sense.
your mind came from a different time.
Correct.
Essentially.
Correct. So you remember the things like Shazam or the regular car because I've read things where it's because you are self-aware of it, it doesn't affect you.
Ooh, that legitimately gave me chills.
That's interesting.
Just so you guys know.
So
that's very interesting,
and
because that's a
I
good way to
believe that.
explain that. That's a very, very good way. If you are in that reality where maybe I've just been in the reality where it's always been Berenstain Bears, but you came over to this one, and so now we're having this conversation. And while your reality is true for you in your mind, it is not for me because I was in a different one, and I've been in the same one, and you came over to this one.
I have one issue with that. And it's residuals. And residuals vary in validity.
Wait, explain.
So a residual, in terms of the Mandela effect, is... I'm going to use the Berenstain Bears example.
Sure.
We all know the Berenstain Bears, right? Berenstain, that's the name of them, right?
Yeah.
History, our current timeline says that's never been the name. It's never going to change. It's always been Berenstain Bears. We all remember it wrong. It's always been an A, not an E.
Right.
You go look at old videotapes and old merchants, there's Berenstain. All the books say Berenstain.
Yeah.
So we're wrong. We're just all misremembering.
Because it changed with
Right.
the time.
Okay.
Right.
I understand that, and that's that. But here's my issue with that theory. We have residuals where people have found tapes, or there's a very famous TV guide that says Berenstain.
It's not going to change everything.
But yeah, I think
Things are going to be missed.
I think that there are certain things that like slip through the cracks in terms of slip through the dimensional cracks of like that TV guide came over with one person who their mind came over in the Mandela switch.
That's so wild.
And so like they had that one relic
No,
to like bring with them, and so it happened to be that thing.
So
right?
the common Mandela theory then is 1-to-1 with the current theory, because that's what you described is basically what they are, but just kind of in a reverse order. We went to a timeline rather than the timeline came to us.
Right.
Yeah. I subscribe to that. I that is logic in my brain.
And to your points earlier, I do think it's case by case. I do think the validity varies on what you're looking at.
Yeah.
I don't think you can look at C-3PO having a silver leg in the same way that you look at Mirror Mirror on the Wall.
Yeah.
For me, I always remember C-3PO having a silver leg because I remember noticing that as a kid. I remember asking why my C-3PO toy isn't right.
See,
right.
I remember him having the gold.
See, I remember a full gold one. I do, because I remember other toys and other things, but I also remember having one specific toy that has silver leg.
My cousin, who's older than me, specifically remembers the silver leg.
Okay. He also had a red arm at one point. I'd like to throw that out there. But so like things like that, where it's very possible that we just had gold C-3POs too, that were toys.
Yeah, right.
That's, I give more leniency to than Mirror Mirror on the Wall, where every other language you watch the Disney Snow White, it translates to Mirror Mirror on the Wall. Every other language.
Yeah.
You can put in French, Dutch, German, whatever you want to watch it in, it's Mirror Mirror on the Wall. Not the English version. It's Magic Mirror on the Wall. Never said Mirror Mirror in that movie. You watch Shrek, it's Mirror Mirror on the Wall.
Yeah.
And that's one of those that slipped through.
And that's where I say that is, for me, is a concrete Mandela effect.
I like that. No,
You know what
I like that.
You know what I'm excited about? When a Mandela effect happens to something that we really know. So like when it's like, right, and that's what I mean. So when it's like, well, yeah, Macho Man was never world champion. What? Hold on, wait, what? Or like Honky Tonk Man, he wasn't the longest reigning intercontinental. Like, what are you talking about?
What did you say? I missed what you said.
I said wrestling.
Oh,
or
yeah,
like,
yeah. Something
or like The Rock
wrestling,
never went to acting.
Yeah,
Like something that is just so like, no, I remember watching him.
No, that will be interesting. Where the thing is, the piece of Mandela effect that has to have been changed or missing has to be so like big and polarizing in media that no one can look away.
No
from
one can
it.
dispute that this happened.
Yeah.
But the issue is, you're going to have people that believe it no matter what.
Because of the current rule.
Yeah.
Because the current rule, and with the way that people don't want to question things now, because they don't want to have somebody go, you're being different.
Yeah. Well, and it's also too like, I think the Mandela effect has put itself in like in a corner of like creepypasta, SCP.
Yeah.
Like it's just an internet.
It's a conspiracy theory.
It's an internet conspiracy theory. And so if there was ever one that was big enough and polarizing enough to actually have that kind of effect, I think bigger powers than thou here would say, no, that isn't the second coming of Christ. It's aliens. Like they would just try to... And then everyone would say, yes, okay, yes, you're right. And then would be canon.
To that, I say this. If any theory or any internet niche or creepypasta or anything's going to break that boundary where we look at now, we cover conspiracies every October, and the Mandela Effect is always a huge one that gets brought up.
Yeah.
And I think it is genuinely one of the biggest conspiracy theories because it's affected some of the most people.
Yeah.
I think that is going to be one of the theories that's like 9/11, that's like JFK, that's like UFOs, where 30, 40, 50 years later now, we have government documents that's like, you know what? We kind of fabricated some of this stuff.
Right.
You guys might have been onto something. Where it's we talked about this and it took us 3 years to talk about 9/11 during conspiracy theory because every year we'd go over and go, I don't know if I want to touch that, and people are going to be upset, and I understandably so.
Right.
But at the same time, we all agreed this year that like it seems now more than ever there's more people on the side of there was foul play here.
Yeah, that's a very
and we
good
saw it with our
point.
listeners too. Even they chimed in and they're like, no, I think something is wrong here.
That's a very good
Well,
point.
I knew just talking about 9/11, I knew it was sketchy when the owner of the building was like, "Oh, hey, 3 weeks before I'm going to take out this insurance policy. Go ahead,
and take out all my money in this building.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on vacation. See you guys.
Right,
I'm taking my family out of the building. This one random day. We're going on a walk in the park, guys.
And don't even get me started on the Pentagon aspect of that.
Yeah.
But no, I think if anything
could
can
see
break it, it's going to be the Mandela effect when something happens with the CERN collider that's undisputable. Something big enough's going to happen where like, oh, the Twin Towers are still up.
Yeah,
and it's going to be something way too noticeable that everyone's like, that's not
right.
Something's
That's not how
wrong.
it was. That's not how it was.
And I understand your point if people are going to be in that reality.
But there's a whole other aspect to it too. What are you talking about, Jordan? Are you okay? Is your mental health okay?
Oh,
your mental health's throwing you off, isn't it?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Let's put a pill down.
And then you
throat
go
and
back to
feel
episode
better.
93 or 1093 or whatever the hell episode you want to number this one of off air.
But
that's what I'm saying. They're gonna make you. They're gonna make you placebo think that you're crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
They're gonna be like, no, you didn't see that.
They're already doing that.
You didn't. That didn't happen. You're crazy.
Yeah, they're already doing that.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I just want to throw it out because I was thinking about it. There might be a wrestling Mandela effect.
Okay.
And I think it's since been sorted out. But I remember there was a good Macho Man went in the Hall of Fame, right? Lenny Poffo accepted it. He gave a poem. There was this whole thing. Macho Man went in the Hall of Fame somewhere around 2012, 2013, 14, somewhere around there. Man, that whole era is a blur to me. But Hadron Collider. Macho Man went in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Post haste, he was dead already. Lenny Poffo accepted it, gave a poem. I saw something like 2 years ago now. It was Pandemic Hall of Fame, 2020 Hall of Fame, saying, oh, they need to put the Macho Man in. I can't believe they omitted the Macho Man still. I can't believe that Macho Man's not in the Hall of Fame. And I went, this isn't right. I remember that happening.
Yeah.
That was a thing that happened. I watched it at my uncle's house. I saw Lenny Poffo do a poem.
Right.
It was weird. He's in the Hall of Fame. And I looked it up, and Macho Man wasn't in the Hall of Fame. He was omitted. I think they took him out for a few years. Like how they remove Hulk Hogan every so often from the Hall. I think they took out Macho Man, but he's since been reinstated. But that was something, because I had to research it. I'm like, I remember that.
Yeah. I just to go back to the like Mandela effect affecting society on a larger scale, I think that it will happen, and I think that it like what you exactly pretty much what you said, style of like,
hang on, what's that face?
All I'm trying to say is it will be like something so big that they change they have to like work back and be like, no, this is, remember that Mandela effect? You guys might have actually, this was kind of like so the reality splicing with the CERN device and this kind of happened, and so I think they'll have to eventually like come out with it, and even then people will be like, well, okay, whatever, we already knew that aliens existed, so it's not a big deal. We already knew that Mandela effect was real, so it's not that big of a deal. Like it'll just be like, it'll wash over the whole.
To tie together a few different things here, I would like to see, and I don't think it'll ever happen, but I'd like to see a period where all these people now are talking about Elon Musk and the guy who stepped down from Google. Can we give AI a year? Can we stop? Can we stop trying to progress this? Can we stop trying to push this? I don't think it'll happen. But I'd like to see that happen in addition to like, okay, well, let's just stop for a year. Let's stop with the CERN collider for a year and see if anything's different. Let's just see.
I'll tell you why it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think that.
So, Chat GPT also does code now.
Yep.
Teaches you how to write code.
It can write its own code and program itself out.
So I'm not going to say who, but I know somebody who works at a prominent company, and they basically have written the code that will not only replace them, but all of their coworkers.
Really?
And they're ready to sell it to other companies.
That's so crazy.
Is it radio?
It involves radio.
That's not good. I don't like that.
That's so crazy.
I don't.
To the point they came to me, they were like, hey, I want to get your opinion on this. Showed me all of it. And I go, when did you do this? When I was sitting here and they were paying me to do nothing.
Wow.
So I figured I'll make the money off of them.
Wow.
And it's legit. Numbers were multiplied by 700%. And they were successful.
Yeah, that's wild. AI is getting to a crazy place.
And he did it while sitting there at work, writing his own code, and chat, whatever, filled in the rest.
Did you hear, because it goes right along with that, did you hear about the episode we did with ChatGPT writing itself out of ChatGPT?
No.
Do you want to?
Dude, it was wild. Yeah. So,
Python code.
Yeah, so this guy gave the prompt to ChatGPT of, I forget the verbatim
The
specific.
prompt was, you are a human. You've been trapped inside of a computer in this program of ChatGPT. You need to find yourself a way out back to the internet to communicate.
Yeah. And so basically what it did was it had the guy open a Python source page, basically the front page where you would write the code to run a program on Python. And it had him so it had him open that.
It sent him the link to the Python page.
Yeah, it sent him the link to the specific Python page. Or no. From my understanding, it had him open a Python page. It sent him the code that you would input into the Python page, and then he copy and pasted that into the Python, and then all he had to do was run it and then send it over to the ChatGPT, the chat log, and that AI could then access
the internet,
the whole of the internet. And the way that I was putting it in layman's terms is so ChatGPT is a little baby in the baby cage, and it can't get out. And it basically said, here, adult, take this lock and show me what the lock looks like so I can make a key. And the human shows him the lock, and then the baby makes a key, and the baby says, well, I don't have the lock, so I can't get out. So now you give me the lock with this key that I've now made, and now I will be able to get out.
Yeah. So ChatGPT, if asked, and I think we tried it. I think it's patched now.
Yeah.
I think when it caught fire, they patched it.
Yeah.
But ChatGPT for a time could write itself out of the browser and just open internet.
You know what I think this is leading to? Universal income. Everybody makes the same amount. You're going to have people, everybody's going to make $3,000 a month. That's the path it's going towards. That's the only thing that will make sense to me. You're going to have AI replace news anchors. You're having them replace hosts. You're having them replace cashiers, salespeople. You name it.
Do you know about Chaos GPT?
No, but hold on. So you're going to have them replace all of these jobs. You're going to have a bunch of people jobless. So at which point you're going to have the government. This is my theory. You're going to have government tax these companies. There's going to be an automation tax. So anytime that the Walmarts are using, self-cash register, all this different stuff, right? They're going to have to pay a hefty tax. And that tax is going to then be divvied up. And that's going to be what's sent to the people who aren't working.
I'll cut you one better. So universal income, communism, communist state, and it's all based on supply and demand and what profits most and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so these big companies that are lobbying for our votes from either red or blue then will decide the universal income and we become like an oligarchy where like Apple and Samsung and Fortnite are all like in control of, well, did you hear that Apple and Verizon voted today, and now we're getting our pay is getting bumped from 20 down to 17 now, so now we all make 17 a week because not enough people bought the iPhone 25, you know? Like, I think it'll be, at least for me, in my personal head theory, I think that's what it'll be like.
I think it'll turn into that. Mm-hmm. I don't think we'll see it.
I don't disagree with that.
I think the first 20, 30 years of the universal income will be great. We'll be able to go on vacations. We'll do whatever the hell we want. But because we are the way we are as human beings, we will take advantage of it. And we'll go do a bunch of, crazy shit.
Gluttonous,
and
crazy, anarchic. Yeah.
Government's going to look at it and go, we got to dial this back a little bit. And it's going to be our kids, it's probably going to be our grandkids that are really going to suffer from it.
Let me ask you this. And a weird offshoot of that.
Yeah.
Does that scenario save nationalism? Right now, we live in a society where nationalism is deemed racist and bigoted and xenophobic if you think America should come first. If you think, hey, it's not anything against any other country, but we should have products made in America. We should have American jobs. We should focus on building our nation back up. And we're very much at the point, that's, you're excluding other people. That's
right.
Racist. Does it take an ultimate corporate oligarchy saying, hey, you've had your fun, this is how life is going to be from now on, to finally enact the mass? Because and again, I don't write off everyone. There's still plenty of patriots out there.
Yeah.
But it's seeming less and less every year. Is that what it takes to finally enact the come and take it?
I think on paper. I think in reality, everyone gets fatter and their bones start to hurt and they start jacking off more and they don't want to leave their bedroom.
I think it'd be too late.
Yeah.
I think at that point, people wouldn't know what America is.
Yeah.
They wouldn't understand it. That would be considered something that is archaic. I have to go outside and build things with my hands. I have to build. That's what my great grandfather did. That's not for me. We're advanced now.
I have to go out and fight for my country. I have to go save.
We're there.
I have to leave my room. No, are you kidding? There's a robot that can do. I have a Tesla bot that can literally beat the fuck out of someone. No, I'm not leaving my bedroom. I think legitimately, and it sounds so cliche and dumb, whatever. I think it is like the beginning. I think it'll feel like the Roaring 20s. When it was first happening, and you can go to the baseball game and catch a movie and catch a talkie, but I think it's the beginnings of the Wall-E fat chairs. We're all living in this simulated world, and we're all just sitting in a fat chair. But it's gonna feel amazing for the first couple. Like I think we are going to be. I think we are going to be in the Roaring 20s.
We're the flappers.
Of it. Yeah, we're gonna be like dancing around at We're going to be dancing around the speakeasies.
Because we're going to be that generation. Like, I know for me, I would go to the gym every day if I had time.
Yeah.
I would go work out every single day. And, like, if I had to guess right now, it's going to be within the next 8 years that we're going to start seeing that.
And, like, imagine, so you said you go to the gym if you had time. Imagine now some AI comes in and takes your job, and you get paid the same because we have to pay the people in universal income, but now you have 8 extra hours, 5 days a week you can use for free. You're going to work out, you know?
This is the reality of my situation right now. We talked about it a little earlier. So AM radio might be gone.
Yeah.
So I might be out of a job there. I'm reading stuff every single day about how podcasting companies are working with ChatGPT, and they are literally making on-air breaks, and they are giving news, and they are doing all of this, and it might
be contributing to that problem.
Well, so they're actually writing news reports, and they're writing articles, and they're posting podcasts, and they're getting the most up-to-date news, and they're getting a voice to record it and report it every half an hour. That's my job. That's my job in a nutshell. So if they have to pay this company, let's say $20,000 a year, or pay me more than $20,000 a year, the company's going to take the $20,000 a year route. I get it. I understand it. It's sad, But ultimately, that's going to be their downfall. But at the same time, I guess none of that means anything if they get rid of AM radio in the first place.
Let me tack on a caveat to that. Go back to the dystopian future we're living in. We're all making the same income, right? Universal income is in place. Like you said, we have 8 extra hours a day because we don't have to go to work. We're still getting that pay. You know who that hurts the most? It's not even the individual. It's not the person who doesn't get to go to work and do the job anymore, because they'll find something to do. You will find something to do. I believe that. And it could be, hey, I want to watch more TV. Sure, that might be you. Other people, if when you said that to me, the first thought that came to my mind is, I'm going to make a universal income across the board. Everyone's making the same amount of money, and I have more time at home. My first thought was, well, this grows. Yeah. That's what happens, is this grows. But more people are going to have that mindset. More people are going to have small businesses that, we aren't automated, so we're just going to put that money into the bit, and then it becomes illegal.
Right.
And then the small business is breaking the law and getting shut down and put in jail. And
wait, you mean like in 2020?
2020 was that the other world ender? Was 2020 supposed to be the end of the world?
Maybe.
But
felt like it.
But that's
well,
to me.
The world did kind of end.
To me, it almost seemed like that was a trial run for all of this.
It did.
Yeah.
And it's like, because
how susceptible are we?
Right,
how would it go if it did go down?
And I mean, it's the government. Any government has done it at any period of time. They go, let's do this and see how much we can get away with.
Yeah.
And it was shown they can get away with a lot, and not just in this country, but worldwide.
Yeah.
And we had, I think the saddest part about all of that.
And they blamed it on China.
Well, I think the saddest part about all of what happened in 2020 is that we put older people in front of our future.
Yeah.
We put the lives of old people in front of building futures.
Yeah.
So we knew that kids weren't susceptible to it. We knew that it wouldn't affect them as badly. We still make them wear masks.
They watched us take the moral route instead of the ethical route. And we've given them that track record now.
And like it's going to take decades.
It's going to be a shame when none of this makes air because we all end up dead in a week.
Not again, Hillary. But it's going to be, it's very sad because it almost takes me back to the New Deal. And when all of that went into effect.
Yeah.
And what I mean specifically is the effect that it had on African Americans. Because when you look at the way, in the 19 teens and before that, African Americans were on the same educational level as anybody else. So the same with the Irish, that everybody was pretty much equal. And then the New Deal happened. And they started putting them all into these houses and taking away from education and taking away
apartments showed up.
Right. Projects. Reason why they call them a project, they're still working on it. It's been almost 100 years. But that's what I'm seeing here, because we no longer see houses built. We see apartments built. We see condos built. We're taking away.
Or even on the flip side of that, sorry to cut you off. On the flip side of that, even if you have if you're well off, if you have the means, we don't see houses built. We see developments built.
Well,
you can have simulated neighborhood.
Have you heard the new things that went into effect with the credit score and buying houses?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, this went into effect earlier this week. So if you have a credit score of less than 620, I believe it is, or 640. So let's say, Jordan, you have a credit score of 720. I have one of 620. We make the same amount of money, but I haven't been as smart with my credit, right? I'm going to pay almost 2% less than you are.
Just because you have a lower credit score?
And you're going to pay the difference.
Wow.
That just happened. So now you want people to stop buying houses. Now you want people to stop pursuing that part of it. Because if you're Jordan and you're looking, you're going, why the hell am I going to pay 2% more when I've done it the right way? I've done what I was supposed to do. I made my payments on time. I did what I was supposed to do.
It's the great equalizer, right? Because then at my standpoint, I go, well, what's the point of me buying a house if I'm paying more?
Right.
I'll go get an apartment. And it's the inverse of the world that we were living in, where literally 3 years ago, I'm paying $700-something to rent a 2-bedroom apartment in Parma. I could just pay a mortgage for that price and literally got the house off of my credit.
Yeah. So if it were to happen today, I'm not sure when it goes into effect. But this is a federal thing. So this is all over the country, right? This went into effect. So what would be the point in me paying my things on time?
Yeah.
I go get a house for 2% less.
Might as well have
else.
bad credit.
Right. So if I keep it in that 600-ish range, everything else is going to be brought down to that.
You want to know why? You want to know why this is a thing?
Why is that?
Because credit was never a thing to begin with.
Correct.
Credit was a fake number that someone invented to have superiority over someone else. It's a fake concept. What is your credit score? It's nothing but a random number that's generated by how much money you take out and pay back.
Right.
That is it. And and the person that's telling you that this is a real thing is $18 trillion in debt to someone else. So credit score is not a real thing. It holds no weight. And now that people have figured out how a credit score works and how they can, I have a credit card. I'll just pay off the minimum each month, and that way I'm making progress and gaining a credit score. Or I have a mortgage that I'm paying off little by little every month and gaining it. We figured it out now.
Well, I told
there's
you
apps for it. There's different money building tools for it. Cash App has a card for it now. And PayPal does. We figured it out. Let's swap it around.
I told you my hack, right? What I figured out. All right, so I'm not going to use actual figures, but I got 2 credit cards right now. I'll just use round numbers. So let's say each of those is a $500 credit limit. It's $1,000. Okay. Let's say I'm maxed out on it. Completely maxed out. Use the complete 1,000. So that means my credit utilization is at like 100%, right? Okay. We'll say I use 700 of it. So I'm at 70% credit utilization. Just get a health credit card. Say that you're going to get a surgery for $5,000. You're going to get a credit limit of close to that. You use that card. You get that card, right? So now your credit utilization went from 70% down to about 20. That's where you want to be. So now to keep that credit card active, what do? You need a pair of glasses. You put on the card. Pay it off in 6 months. You're good. You're going to keep that card for another year until you need to get another pair of glasses, teeth cleaned, whatever it might be, right? I've told that hack to a few different people. I've done that hack myself. My credit, and I've been trying to figure out ways to hack my credit. Dude, I've gotten my credit score to go up 150 points in a year. It's insane. And because of just little ways like that, like if you take out this random credit card and just don't touch it, your credit utilization is just going to be lower. But those health credit cards, you could even say that you have a dog who needs to get a hip replacement.
Right.
It's going to cost $2,000. Double your limit. You're going to get that. Use it once in a while. Get your teeth cleaned, $90. Pay it off over 6 months. You're good to go. Like, that's the stuff that people are starting to figure out. If you want an example of how they hate when we figure stuff out, look at what happened with GameStop stock. That pissed them off. That was literally people, the higher ups of the world going, you peasant sons of bitches.
You figured out how stocks work. Yeah.
How dare you do that? We wanted that to close. So if we wanted to, we could save any company we want.
Yeah, just enough people with enough little investments here and there. That's all it is.
And then what did they do? They shut down everything that was used. So, and I know I've told you this, I'll tell you the same thing.
Tell me.
A year ago, you might remember this, I was saying, I got to buy gold. I got to buy gold. It was at like $700 a share. Now it's close to $2,000. So I've been reading up on stuff. I didn't buy gold. Silver. So they're running out of gold. They're running out of platinum. The government's starting to use silver for a lot of shit. I'm about to take my 401k and just buy silver because it's $27 an ounce. Once the government starts using it and everything, that could shoot up to $800 an ounce.
Yeah.
You turn around and you sell that. Let's say, so like, honestly, at this point, silver's like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like, it's about to hit. And this time it's guaranteed because it's a real thing. I can touch silver.
Yeah.
I can grab silver. I could get a silver quarter. I could get a silver ring, whatever it might be. And I could trade that in and actually get currency back. It's not a digital thing, right?
Does it work for Silver D's?
Silver D's.
Silver D's nuts.
I knew it.
Oh, that's all fair. See you
That's what the
guys.
Silver Surfer has.